Welcome to USMLE Sarthi. We are committed to empowering IMGs. We're excited to guide you on your match journey. Don't forget to click subscribe and turn on notifications so you can get notified whenever we add new content. Also, follow us on Instagram and Twitter for the latest tips and tricks regarding everything USMLE. Now, let's dive into it.
We discussed about alternate pathways, provisional licensing, and we got a lot of questions on what are the various ways in which IMGs can work in the US through the residency or through the other alternate pathways. So in this video, I'm going to give you all the ways in which you as an IMGs can practice in the US. There are the traditional pathways and then there are the non-traditional routes or pathways. So don't confuse it with the ECFMG certification pathways that are 6 pathways. So first let's talk about the traditional pathways. What are these traditional pathways? All of you probably know about this. This is the way in which you graduate from medical school. So first of it is the first path is you graduate from your home country medical institute, right? So your home country institute, the college should be in WDOMS, World Directory of Medical Schools, and then ECFMG sponsor note has to be there. That means you are eligible for the USMLE pathways. What you need to do then is pass your step 1, pass your CK, obviously with a high score, and we have all that information in other videos. Once you do that, you have to take OET exam. The OET exam has replaced CS, so it tests the English proficiency, and then you apply for ECFMG certification. Once you do that, you apply to various programs through the ERAs. You go into the match as part of the NRMP, or you could do a pre-match, and then you match into a program, you complete your residency, and so on. So this is the most common pathway. I'll give you an example. Dr. Aditi Sen, who was our student, she did her medical school in India. Then she did her electives as part of the medical school. She came to US to do electives. She also did research at Mayo Clinic. She matched into residency. She then did her even fellowship in nephrology. Now she is part of our panel and she's practicing back in India. So she has actually moved back to India, but this is the most traditional route that you follow. What are the advantages? Obviously, this is the most structured route that you can have. The second, obviously, lower tuition fee if you are in your home country. So the tuition fee tends to be lower. You are in your familiar environment. You can do all of this. However, this is the most competitive one, right? So we all know how competitive this is. But a related part to this is, what about students who go to other countries? So many students go to China, used to go to Ukraine, now Russia, Philippines, Georgia, all these countries. So you may be from a US student, you may be a citizen of India, Pakistan, but you move to other country for your med school. So it is very similar to what we have done in the first route, right? So you enroll in a foreign country med school. You want to make sure that they are recognized by ECFMG and World Directory of Medical Schools. You do the same thing, pass step 1, get a high score in CK, do OET, do your rotations, research, and follow the same pathway. Example, Dr. Snehal Bhansod from Sarthi student list, he is now an attending in the US. Or Dr. Calvin, he actually was our Sarthi student who matched last year. He actually went to China. He did his rotations in Canada and in US. And then he was a Sarthi student. We helped him match. Dr. Snehal Bhansod actually had gone to Russia. So similar pathway. The advantage is maybe the admissions criteria is slightly easier for you in these countries as compared to, say, the home country, right? So that's one way of doing it. Maybe the tuition fee could be lower and it gives you a new environment. So that's something. You learn a new language perhaps. So some more opportunities to network and to know more about the culture, right? But the disadvantage is you are in a foreign country, so the residency challenge could be more because you're not in a familiar environment. The standards of education in some of these countries, in some of these colleges, may be very variable, and you still have to do the US clinical experience and research. So these two pathways are the traditional pathway where you do your med school, whether in the country or outside the country. Now then there is one of the most expensive pathways, but it is gaining traction, which is you directly come to US after your high school or 12th grade. You are basically then taking advantage of the US system. So you do college in the US, then you go to med school in the US, right? So this is one pathway. Very few IMGs do it because this is very expensive. However, you also have to realize that after you do medical school in the US, you have to take MCAT. So MCAT is the exam to get into med school in the US. So after your college in the US, you have to do MCAT to get into the med school in the US. However, the biggest advantage of this is the match rate is going to be more than 95%. So once you do your college and med school in the US, your chances of match are very high. You can do a lot of very competitive specialty in residency as opposed to a typical IMG. Example, Dr. Shubham Bhatt, who came here from India, did his college in California, then he did his med school from Mayo Medical in Arizona, he did his residency from Mayo Clinic, now doing cardiology from Mayo Rochester. So a very, very impressive path. I have had students who have done neurosurgery, urology using this path. The advantage, of course, like I said, is the residency match becomes very, very easy and you can match into competitive specialties. The biggest disadvantage, of course, is the high cost. So if you were to do a college in US and med school in US, and even if it's a public university that you go to college, your bill can run up to 80 to 90,000 per year. So you multiply by 8. So this is in US dollars. So 80,000 US dollars per year, 4 years of college, 4 years of residency, 4 years of med school can be very, very expensive, prohibitive for a lot of them, right? So these were the three ways in which you do the schooling, you do your med school, and then the residency. Now let's talk about the alternate pathways. So alternate pathways are 3 or 4 ways. First, it could be as called alternate pathways. So you've done a home country residency, you want to become a board certified in the US. Example I'm going to give you is, say, the field which opened up the first, which is radiology. Many of Sarthi students who have home country residency in radiology do fellowships in radiology. They are already then board certified because radiology has a pathway where you do some fellowships and you are then allowed to practice in the US as a radiologist. So that kind of a pathway is something that you can do. You don't need to do residency in the US. You do fellowships, get board certified, and practice, right? So the advantage, of course, is it's very fast, right? And you probably short circuit the competition. You can do it easily. Now, what are the disadvantages? Obviously, it is available only for some specialties, not for all. And these are for people who have already done their residency. So that's one way to do it. Then the new pathway that seems to have opened up is you could do fellowship and get some state specific certification, so that is allowed in certain states. So you directly get into fellowship, like I said, in radiology. Possibly dermatology is opening up. However, in this case, in dermatology, they may limit you to certain states. So the advantage, of course, is faster, and advantage is you can practice without repeating the residency. But even in this case, especially, in dermatology, you may be limited to certain states. So that's one way, but it limits you to certain states, although you could practice. Okay, then you have another path that is opening up, which is states are taking students like Tennessee, like Florida. This is the provisional part of what we discussed in the last webinar. You could directly get into a state like Florida, state like Tennessee. You already have a home country residency. There are some limits and some provisions that you have to clear, 4 to 5 years of medical experience, and you can directly then start practicing. Now, of course, we do have our student from Pakistan, Dr. Rashid Ahmed, who did his cardiology fellowship in UK, is practicing in New York. So he did not do his residency, he's practicing in New York. Tennessee and Florida are coming up with such plans, so you can check our video on that. So obviously, very fast way to work in the US. No need to go through either fellowship or residency. So that's the key here. But then it is valid only for certain states, so that's a con. And again, you need a home country residency or fellowship. This is also for people who are highly skilled, right? So that's the other thing. Now the last pathway, the seventh pathway, is you are hired directly with an institution. So let me give you one example. We had someone who was a liver transplant surgeon in All India Institute of Medical Sciences in New Delhi, highly specialized and had more than 6 years of very specialized training, was hired by UPMC Presbyterian, one of the top institutes in this country in Pennsylvania. And this physician works there now. Now the challenge here is that this physician is only allowed to work in UPMC Presbyterian, but as part of the UPMC Presbyterian network, they can bill, and they are working as a full-fledged physician. So very specialized, very few IMGs can do it when you are hired directly by an institution. So the pros, of course, is if you are this specialized, you have a very top institute looking for you. They'll do your visa, green card, etc. All of that can be done, but this is extremely rare. So this is one of the cons. This is an extremely rare, and of course you cannot practice outside that institute. So those were about 7 pathways, like I said, to practice in the US as a physician. And this is building on the video that we did, the webinar that we did on alternate pathways. And if you need help in either these pathways, or if you need help in your residency, because this is the other thing, what we recommend our students is applying for both the traditional pathway, the residency, and the alternate pathway, and then decide. So if you need help in any of those, get in touch with our team, and we will be absolutely thrilled to help you, explore with you. And the first profile review is anyway free, so we can discuss with you, sit down with you, tell you the best option, and then we can take it from there. With that, thank you very much for watching this video. Hope to see you in one of our next webinars.
Thank you so much for watching. We hope that video provided valuable insights for your journey. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram and Twitter. And check out our website for details on how we can guide you to a successful match.